Today I'm fighting to take back my first world record for the fastest speed ever traveled in a radio flyer wagon. 3 years ago when I first created this record, I was stopped in my tracks when my tire ripped itself off the rim, ending my race day and capping the record at 43 miles an hour. I knew the jet could go faster, after all, Joel went 53 on the off-road tires, but I didn't have a reason to rebuild the wagon until my record was broken in 2022. This guy Chris Rollins built his own radio flyer wagon, and while he didn't use a jet, he did manage to beat my speed record by a healthy 5 miles an hour, which means that I have to take it back now. The question is, how? In order to break a record, we first need to know the rules, so Chris and I came up with some together. I'll leave full rules in the description, but basically you have to break the previous record by at least 2 miles an hour and use exclusively original radio flyer wagon parts. If you don't feel like you're rocketing across the ground in an absolute death trap, you're kinda missing the point. The biggest problem that we're both running into is that the wheels, when they get to high enough speed, the rubber expands off of the wheels themselves and then it flies apart and then the wagon is pretty much toast. You can't drive without the wheels. Now that I have a different opinion that I can compete against, I think I've got an idea of how to do it. So let's open up all the parts and figure out what we have. If you saw my last video about the jet bike, you know that the original jet is toast. Sucked in a zip tie. So we got a new one. This is the new jet. This is a state-of-the-art King Tech 320 G4 Plus. And this one I had to pay full price for, so yeah, please like and subscribe. The other thing is, it's a completely new jet, which means we have to refigure out the wiring, we have to refigure out where to mount everything. It's never been run or tested before, so we've got our work cut out for us a little bit. Yeah, I know all of that. Oh, that's Mike. What up, Mike? If you don't remember Mike, he's the guy who helped me run a car on beans.
So technically the rule is just add, don't subtract. But really what the rule is it's like, does it feel like it's still a radio flyer wagon? Because if it doesn't, then you're using the body of a radio flyer wagon as a seat. And that's not really what this is.
Before we get into the project, I want to just quickly overview the problems we ran into on the first build. First, steering. Last time we steered using carabiners and strings limited by bungee cords, and it was all right, but I think we can come up with something better. Second, fuel tanks. The tiny fuel tanks we mounted inside the wagon just didn't cut it. They leaked, and I ran out of gas by the end of every run. And finally, the wheels. This is the big one. For both Chris and I, the tires ripped off the wheels at under 50 miles an hour, so if I even want a chance to break that speed, they have to stay in one piece.
Now, one thing we could do that we didn't do last year that I joked about, I did buy something that might help us out. Okay. They're wheel replacement kits. The reason I've got all these wheels is because when they get manufactured, they have little tiny bits of variation. And anything we can get is gonna help us a lot in trying to beat this record. Before we start, messing with these, I think we should go through, figure out which ones are the truest, and then start working on those as our base set of wheels.
So we spun every wheel on the axle, looking closely to find a set of 4 with the least amount of wobble.
All right, I think these 4 should be our main set. That's pretty much that. I think we gotta grab the ratchet.
Yeah, tighten it all up.
Tighten it all up.
Okay.
Also, you can see this amount of steering is way too much. If you turned like this,
oh, you die.
You would just die.
You'd flip off.
So I think the biggest thing we have to change is the way that we connect it. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Now you might not think about it while watching these videos, but there's a funny problem with most of my cameras. They can only see one thing at a time. And unless you want to spend lots of money, you can't see everything at once. And news has the same problem. You either have to spend lots of money to subscribe to everything, or just pick one and only read that. But look, you guys are smart. You know that no matter what it is, one source can't give you a complete picture, especially if it's social media, because that algorithm's just gonna show you stuff you like. That's why I use Ground News. Ground News sorts articles by the issue and then groups them based on bias. Say we look at this topic about an OpenAI whistleblower. The briefing summarizes the arguments from both a pro-ethics and a pro-innovation perspective. Then if you look directly at the topic, you see hundreds of articles that Ground News is servicing, where you can filter by factuality, bias, and get straight to the info, like through this BBC article. It also has this little dashboard to help you get a look at your own news bias. I've been using it for a couple months now, and it's gotta be the best way to get most of my news at a fraction of the cost of a regular newspaper subscription. The Wall Street Journal charges like $40 a month for digital, while Ground News gets you access to almost everything for like $8. And right now, if you go to ground.news/Lewis, you'll get their biggest sale of the year for 50% off the unlimited access Vantage plan. If you're not signed up already, I highly recommend it. All of this metal is from when Ian and I built the SpongeBob rock. It's scrap, but it'll be perfect for the frame we plan on building.
Yeah, and that's the old wagon. Yeah, so you can see what we did is we just put strings on the axles, and then would pull with the 2 giant carabiners.
Oh, that was your steering.
That was our steering.
Wow, okay.
And it worked,
It did.
but we can do better.
We can definitely do better.
So I think we're good. Yeah, shut her down.
Now that we have some steel tubing, it's time to make the frame. We'll cut the pieces to size, grind off the paint, and weld the frame to both itself and to the steel body of our wagon. Not only will this reinforce the bottom, but it also gives us a place to mount the jet engine and connect our steering springs.
I think we ought to flip this bad boy over and see how we're doing. Oh yeah, that's, I'd say that's what you like to see, but yikes. But, I mean, structurally, not bad.
I added a couple struts to the back and welded them to the rear axle as reinforcement. And to try to fix the wheels problem, I used coarse metal screws as a budget type of bead lock, and then filled the holes with a super strong adhesive to permanently bond the tires to the screws.
Now that's a fucking wheel, man. Okay, and there you go. That's all 4 wheels.
Then we welded on hooks to connect the steering springs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
Oh. Sick. And it looks cool.
We finished up the steering by welding a set of handlebars to the front axle.
Oh, dude. This is the perfect amount of steel.
are gonna fall off?
Yeah, I know they are.
Yeah, I'll pop out.
I think we're good, honestly.
That feels good?
That's the perfect, this feels so much better than last year's version.
Last but not least, it was time for the fuel tanks, which were surprisingly easy to make, and the best place to mount them seemed like the outside of the body. I still have to add some fill ports to fuel them up with gas, but that'll come later.
Oh yeah, this looks so sick and significantly more reliable than the one we did last year.
Yeah.
I think this is looking really good, Mike. Way to go.
Sweet.
So, unless our Amazon stuff is here, I think we should test out the jet, make sure it runs, make sure it's good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so now we gotta get the jet working. Hey, we've got action.
And we're in bind mode.
And that's working.
Yep. Sick.
That's fine. Sounds good trying to start. Horrible. No, it's a lot louder than the last one that I had, but okay, that sounds alright. It doesn't look good. Oh yeah, oh it's good. Never mind.
By this point, I've booted up the jet so many times that it doesn't even faze me, and your speakers really just can't recreate it, so hopefully Mike's reaction will give you an idea of what it's like to hear this jet engine in person.
That's like a jet airplane.
That's
like,
what I'm
oh my
saying.
God.
Dude, it shook the house the first time we turned it on.
I did not expect that.
Yeah!
I thought this was like,
That was louder than my old one, I think.
holy shit.
I think it might be a little powerful more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's important that we dial in, you know, the back here. And
You're running on plastic bushings on rubber wheels with stamped metal.
so it's day 3 of the build and we have a bit of an issue. I still need some more pipe adapters so that I can actually route the fuel out of these tanks. They're not here yet. I ordered them a bunch of days ago and every time Amazon tries to deliver, they fail. So what I'm planning on doing here is I'm basically gonna take these, I'm gonna try to weld some hinges onto these flaps. And the idea is that we're then gonna mount them up top so that we can fit like a little gasket in there. Time to go do it. Okay, so good news. The parts just arrived. So I just got the tap and the new nozzles. So we should actually be able to put the fuel holes on the fuel tanks. Very exciting, extremely necessary. The only problem is this tap is huge and I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to throw it in this chuck. So we'll see what we can do with that. Okay, so I just got official word. Speed Week is canceled for 2022, which I am really sad about. Normally there's no rain this time of year, but out of nowhere, bunch of rain came through, and there's a ½ inch of standing water on the ground, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for most of the vehicles and for us too, moist salt is really, really bad. It's just not something that we can really deal with.
Unfortunately, due to my busy schedule, that was the only chance this year I had to do the run. Well, to be honest, I probably could have attempted the run at some random drag strip, but to me, the Salt Flats represents too much to want to do it anywhere else. For land speed racing, the Salt Flats is home. After Ab Jenkins popularized racing here in the early 1900s, from 1935 to 1982, every outright land speed record was set at the Salt Flats. Speed Week continues that legacy, and since the organization that runs Speed Week only flattens and preps the salt surface for a few events each year, the day after Speed Week is our best chance to do the run and break the record. But it's not just that. Despite the incredibly fast vehicles, the immense skill that it takes to build them, and the risk of an accident or even death if things don't go to plan, these racers are almost all amateurs. They don't do it for fame, they don't do it for money, they do it for themselves, to test their skills, to challenge each other, and to keep up that age-old legacy of fighting for speed. And that incredible spirit matched with the Salt's natural awe-inspiring beauty is what makes Bonville so special to me. It's the physical representation of fortune favors the bold, and though I'm ashamed to say it took me 2 years to remember that and finally finish what I'd started, after an optimistic forecast for clear skies, I was excited and finally ready to finish this journey.
I think we can finally run the jet wagon this year, but the first thing I have to do is get it down from the attic.
I was pretty sure I could beat the record just by keeping the wheels from falling apart, but I wanted to shatter the record, and for that, it needed a little more work.
Okay, so the deal here is that this guy is, in theory, ready to run. Like, looks good, but as you can see, there's old gas in the lines. Yeah, there's definitely some rust going on underneath in there. All right, later I'll probably pump just some plain diesel straight through this, but for now, I want to test the steering. Here we go.
Even with the springs, my gut and past experience told me that the steering was still too responsive, and I know a sudden overcorrection can easily cause a crash. But I had an idea for how to fix it.
I feel like what it needs is it just needs a steering damper that can be installed in case it's too wobbly at higher speeds. So you might be wondering, Lewis, what the hell is a steering damper? This is a steering damper, right? This is set to a lot. This is set to maximum damping right now, which is why I can't really, yeah, there you go. So you can see that I can extend and retract it, right? But only very slowly. And that's because the piston inside of here is making it so that only a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of air can pass through at one time. Basically, this knob here lets you adjust that. So right now it's all the way on as damped as possible. If I spin this back, wow, that's a lot faster, right? But it's still damping. It's still slowing down the rate at which you can turn the bars. So what this does is it helps prevent like micro adjustments and speed wobble, because the structure, as long as it's mounted well, literally can't adjust itself beyond this. That would be clutch. That would be so dope. So I'm gonna see if I can do that.
And after finding a good place to put it, I started installing.
I think I'm gonna go 5/16, but I could boost this.
The damper has to connect the handlebars to the frame, so I sent 1 bolt through the body, cranked it down, and connected the other side to the hand grip.
Yeah, it's definitely taking out any wobble. I like it. I think that's good. I think this is a race-ready wagon. All right, I need to start doing all the electronics and everything else to put in here, but I'm pretty excited with where this is headed. Now that we've got this on there, it's really spec to just go straight as fast as possible.
With the steering in great shape, I just have to tie up some loose ends for it to be ready to race. I mounted the engine and then connected my throttle with a special control board.
Oh yeah, that's the sound of a healthy jet engine.
Then to mount it, I cut a short section of copper pipe, drilled a hole into my handlebars, and sent a bolt through to connect the pieces.
It's honestly really comfortable.
The last step was cleaning the fuel system. I replaced all the old yellowed fuel line with fresh tubing, connected it to my fuel pump, and purged the tanks with clean diesel to get any loose rust out of the system. Once clean, I connected it to the jet engine before soldering in a kill switch in case of an emergency. Okay, I think we're about ready for the big test. I've got the disconnect wired up, so I'm gonna plug that in. And I wanna do one quick electronics test just to make sure everything is working the way that I expect it to before we head all the way to the test location. So it's set to idle, so normally I can just turn that off to kill the jet. Okay, so I just need to wait. Wait. Okay, so this will kill the jet, but only once it's already running. That's good to know. The wagon looked great, but before driving it to the salt, I took it to a random side road to make sure all the different parts of the system would work together. Okay, I think we pretty much gotta go. We are live. Let's prime the jet engine. Things sound good. Things were sounding good as I booted up the engine. I couldn't go far since I was next to a neighborhood, but I still floored the throttle and checked the steering to make sure everything felt and sounded. Okay, all right, we're good. And since everything looked good, I filled my truck Bluebird to the brim with cargo, tools, and jet parts before starting the 8-hour drive to Salt Lake City.
All right, Utah, here we come. It's finally time to run this wagon, and I am so excited. The weather, you know what, I'm not even gonna talk about it because I don't want to jinx it. Oh my gosh, 3 years in the making. Whoo, boy. Okay, let's go.
Driving through the beautiful mountains of Colorado always reminds me of the many friends and adventures I've had since coming here. And I was excited to share this new adventure with an old friend I'm grabbing on my way.
Bye, guys. All right, Salt Ho. We're about to head to the Salt, so we're gonna start going that direction. We ended up deciding to camp tonight because it'll just put us out there earlier tomorrow morning. You have anything to add?
I got nothing.
Sick.
I got no words.
All right, well, see you on the Salt.
This is Jake, and years after I met him through his channel Jake Makes, T-Core brought him to Utah to be their host. I wanted to camp near the Salt before record day, and Jake and his friends were down, which was perfect because some fun was exactly what I needed to keep the nerves away.
All right. Did you do it, Jake?
Who's doing it? Who's doing it?
Vaguely like the ocean.
I'll be first. Here's what, I'll go first.
Wait, did you, Jake? No. Oh, wait, I will.
Here you go.
You're gonna do it like that?
Well,
That's so lame.
okay.
That's so lame. Come on. Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Whoa, whoa, it is salty.
Yeah, all right. Ooh, whoa. This
Oh, wait, now it's very dark.
Oh, wait, actually,
It is actually salty.
That's salt.
dude.
I've never like straight up.
Yeah, try it.
Weird.
Dude, I could lick this.
Dude, it's like
Eh.
Yeah, but what do you mean it's good? It's good.
Kevin likes salt.
I feel like I'm so dumb doing this, but
Trust me, you look every bit as dumb as you do.
And after a good night's sleep, we all woke up for a gas station breakfast before my record attempt.
Breakfast of Champions, burrito and a Red Bull.
Woo! It was so exciting to finally be back at Bonville, but the silence on the Salt is absolutely deafening. You're so acutely aware that if something goes wrong, there's nobody to help for miles around, which is why it's so important that I trust the people I'm with. And once we started setting up, my friend Daniel from the Waterjet channel came too for a little extra help.
I don't need to boot up the jet, but is this working? Yes, looks like it. So what I'm checking on is this thing called the race box. This is how we're gonna be doing our GPS speedometer. Connect last used race box, yes.
Is that on? Now it's on. Okay. Yeah, how is the perspective when I'm tucked in?
Oh, definitely. Okay, is that how your head's gonna be?
Probably about here.
All right, needs to go way higher. You want to see some skyline and some knees, right?
Yeah,
Okay, yep.
great.
Red lights
Okay.
flashing on that. Red lights on the other one. We got time code and.
I've got my Speedo.
Okay.
I've got that. All right, I'm good. Can I start idling?
Yeah.
Okay.
As I started taking the wagon up to speed, my heart was pounding, but pretty soon my heart steadied and the world disappeared around me because this record on the Salt was the only thing that mattered. I think a lot of people see the videos where I do these dangerous things as stunts, things I'm just doing to impress the masses online. But I know that's not true because no amount of money would get me in that wagon. So then what does? Why do I do it? To beat a record nobody's ever heard of? To satisfy my cravings as an adrenaline junkie? To get a sense of control in this unpredictable career? I think there's some truth in all of that, but to really know what it's like to be in the wagon, you have to be driving it. And this is what I had to say right after.
51!
I don't think I've ever felt so locked into anything. Like by the time I was going like 60 plus, nothing else in the universe mattered. All that mattered is like what was in me. Like I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like it's one of those things that you can only understand if you've experienced it. But like, it was me, Salt. I can't even remember what else I was thinking about. Whatever I was thinking about like didn't matter because it didn't save. Like that's, like I couldn't tell you what it was like because I was too focused on doing it. It's crazy, crazy.
Yes!
No way!
65!
You broke your record by like 20 miles an hour. What, wait, 30?
Oh my God!
70?
Oh my God!
As 2024 comes to a close, I just want to say thank you for being here with me. I won't get into too much detail, but I lost my editor about 2.5 years ago, and trying to post monthly without her pushed me to the brink of burnout. It was scary to do, but taking a step back let me focus on what makes this channel special, and I found someone new to take her place. If you've been around for a while and my last couple videos felt different to you, that's a good thing. And if you're new here, I'm excited to meet you too. It means a lot to me that so many of you have stuck around and that there are a lot of new faces now that we're back on track for monthly uploads. So stay tuned, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.